On Wednesday this week, I was outside. I went downtown. And before I left, I got this impulse to smoke. As a matter of fact, I even got a visual. I have in my evidence a electronic smoking device I found on the train. And let's just put it that way. And someone's like, well, smoke it. I'm like, well, it's in evidence. But then part of me is like, well, why am I getting this urge to smoke? I haven't had this urge to smoke in a long time. I leave, I go do my things. I'm seeing people all over downtown smoking. As a matter of fact, I went by one building maybe before, even at like the time before COVID, when people were out and about during the day. I might see one, maybe two people out smoking during break time. This is around noon, maybe. Actually, it was exactly 12:15, between 12:10 and 12:15. And there's this building. There's at least four or five people. There's actually five people smoking a cigarette outside the building. Like, wow, okay. Finding cigarettes on the ground, half smoked cigarettes on the ground, like I haven't found before. People are asking me on the train for a cigarette. It's as somebody is putting out some sort of subliminal current to smoke, to increase smoking. This has happened before. I've heard it before. I've experienced it before in different manners. So I had this thing today. I went to a store. Somebody comes up and yells at me in the store, "You can't be in here without the mask on." All right. There's no whatever it is, whatever it is. I do whatever I do. I leave the store. I go out one door, come around the back, and that same person is right outside the door with one of those handheld electronic smoking devices. This is very, very scary. There was already an announcement by somebody claiming to be some sort of healthcare professional involved with analyzing trends connected to pandemics, who projected that by April of next year, that there was going to be a double in deaths related to COVID 19. This was less than a month ago, this was announced. As a matter of fact, I think it might have been 2 or 3 weeks ago. It was after Thanksgiving. So between Thanksgiving and tax day, they had projected that there was going to be a doubling in the number of COVID deaths. It's been the last couple of days. It doesn't make any sense to require people to have social distancing of 6 feet and require them to wear a mask that has absolutely no real medical necessity associated with it. And to be subjected to people forcing you in order to be in a public space to conform to behavior modification that's actually counter to medical science, and then stand right outside and go on their smoke break. I think it actually does more to the collective health, especially considering this is supposed to be a respiratory and airborne transmitted disease when they're standing there smoking. But somebody right now is intentionally triggering people on a very large scale to seek out smoking. So if you're a smoker already, you're being encouraged. You're accelerating. And I felt it too. Right after he talked to me, right after he said what he said, I felt it, this nervousness, this anxiety. Well, I mean, if you're a smoker, when you feel that anxiety, you might say, "Hey, can I take a smoke break?" And then you go outside and then you take the smoke break. Well, here's the thing too. It's one thing if you're talking about cigarettes, but what if you're talking about those electronic cigarette devices, those electronic smoking devices, and you're using CBD oil? Are they allowing people to use electronic smoking devices that are using CBD oil while they're on the job? So we have a very finite group of people that are allowed to be employed right now. There's a very finite group of people around the country, perhaps the world, who are allowed to get paid to go to a job and to do work. And in order to be in certain spaces or other places, we're required to wear a mask under penalty, potentially, of a fine. And somebody has already started in the last week triggering people and sending out currents to increase their smoking. Well, if you get people in this situation where you're using them to run all this illicit currency connected to forcing all this laundering of toxic assets that you've already set up, and it increases and excites their anxiety on the job, and then they go out and smoke, What are you trying to do to your numbers around exposure to workplace hazards? You know, there have been a lot of reports that companies have had in the last year about how many people on their workforce got COVID 19. Well, COVID 19 is a presumably airborne disease, right? It's transmitted through respiration. How many of those people were in proximity or in network with people that took smoke breaks? How many people that you're triggering to take smoke breaks right now are either themselves or through some sort of derivative process going to be connected to people who are being prepared to be identified and recharacterized as a statistic associated with COVID 19? How many of those people that are being triggered right now to smoke or go on smoke breaks while they're on the job are being put into a queue or have already received a vaccine? This is very alarming because this could have gone a variety of different ways, right? But the specific concern is that he was triggered to yell at me and demand I put the mask on if I wanted to stay in the store. I felt what happened. I heard what happened. And then I did what I did. And when I left, he was on the other side on his electronic smoking device. I know what that means. Now, today is the last time that's going to be possible with me. You understand? It's no longer an option. And he did not succeed. So you're going to have to deal with the implications of that. But the question is, how many offsets are you planning to line up for yourselves? It's very, very, very disingenuous. Now, one could say, well, we have the right or we have the duty to demonstrate some self control. This is true. But our government also had the duty to assure that if it was going to discuss matters with us connected to medical necessity in the course of a pandemic, it did so honestly. And that's not what happened, is it?